Coach, what do you think of your team's effort there to close out the game and what was otherwise, not really, an effort that I'm sure you prefer?
No, it was pretty dismal. The game wasn't, the tone was set early, a lot of walks, way too many walks, 11 and a hit batter. It's not a sustainable way to win too many games. So from that standpoint, it was pretty ugly. But again, I've said it time and time again, these guys will battle till the last out, and I think that's encouraging. I felt like we were in that game all the way really until the ninth, when we gave up the 7 spot, but hypothetically, if you could erase that 7 spot, we put up 5 in the bottom half. I mean, you never know what can happen. So everybody's role matters. They come into a game, it's their job to throw strikes. We didn't do a very good job of that tonight. So and offensively, we didn't do a great job either. We struck out 11 times, and it's not always by the numbers, but they seem to rear their heads whenever you walk guys and strike out. You seem to put an L in the one in the L column. So it is what it is. At the end of the day, we have an opportunity to win the series tomorrow. This was an ugly game. It wasn't good. It wasn't well played on our part, but we do have to turn the page quickly because we got an early game tomorrow, and we need to be able to bounce back.
And what was the reasoning behind, you got LaFlamme in there and Hansel, Andrew Lucas, some guys that haven't seen too much this year? Was it just, the big lead and giving those guys an opportunity to kind of show their worth, I guess?
Well, I think, there's a strategy behind that. Those guys we're going to need those guys down the stretch. If any of them can step up and show that they can be a factor, we're going to need other arms other than the 5 guys who are running out there every day. And that was their opportunity to step up. And with our Saturday starter, with Meyer not being able to go today, you need guys to step up at some point in time. They're part of this program and part of this team for a reason. They're not on vacation. They're here to do a job. And if they're not able to do a job, then next man up, and we'll find out somebody that can do a job and do what they're supposed to do. So this was an opportunity for a lot of those guys to step up, and some of them did just fine. Viv threw the ball good. Luke got a couple outs there. Lucas threw the ball okay. So those are guys that got an opportunity that earned themselves probably another opportunity. So like I said, we can't live by the same arms every night. We're going to have guys step up at certain points and times here as the second half of the season is upon us. So hopefully those guys that did well tonight will continue doing well.
From your point of view, what have you kind of seen from Kai Murphy? Arguably probably his best back-to-back games he's had at the plate in his career. Struggled pretty bad before that. Have you seen an adjustment from him, or has he just been kind of keeping the same approach, you think?
I think I talked to him a little bit about just having the mindset of keeping that edge, and not that Kai would ever take things for granted, but at some point in time you have to get that edge and keep that edge. He's the type of player that when he plays with that mindset and that little bit of pissed offness, got a chance to be pretty dang good, and that's what he's doing lately. I think he was pissed off at me for benching him for a couple days, and I said, good. I don't want you to be happy, but use that and play with the edge that we know you can. And I'm not saying that's the reason he's blowing up and playing great, but sometimes as a competitor, you poke the bear a little bit and you get some results, and he's done an outstanding job of bouncing back and putting me in my place. So he's a competitor, and that's what he does, and he believes in himself, and he's swinging the bat very well. So I'm happy to see that out of him.
Were you expecting a little bit more out of Jared Glenn, or was this something that you were really looking at a bullpen game going into it?
Obviously in a perfect world, we were trying to get him through 3, maybe 4 innings if we could. He didn't come out and throw the way he's capable of throwing. Started off 3 walks in the first inning, and he's usually a strike thrower that pounds the zone. It's just kind of why we went with him to start the game, as he usually is a guy that you count on to throw strikes, but he didn't have his best stuff, and We would have liked to have gone with him a little bit longer, but that's why we kind of went with Will early to try and calm the waters a little bit and give our offense a chance to get back in the game. But I still feel like we were in that game all the way until, like I said, till the 9th when we gave up that big number. But that's again part of the in-game strategy that we're trying to go with who's available and the best available option at that time.
Where does this put you in terms of your search for a fourth starter to kind of shore up the starting pitching in your midweek games?
We don't have the luxury of having the staff that you can plan too far ahead. And I don't mean that disrespectfully. We just got to worry about one game at a time, and we're going to use the best available guys we got. And we have our 3 normal starters, that we have with Luck and Tyler and Tully. Dougie's done a good job when he's gotten the opportunity to start, but again, we might need Dougie tomorrow. So if we need him for length tomorrow, then that shoots him for Tuesday. So we don't really worry about Tuesday until that gets here and who's our best available option at that time. So, tomorrow is the only game that matters for us right now is to try and win this series and bounce back and be ready to play tomorrow. And we'll use whoever we got to use tomorrow to try and get the win.
You mentioned yesterday that Tyler Myers was kind of precautionary. Where do you see him as far as getting back into the rotation and being able to have an impact?
We'll evaluate day to day. I don't think it's nothing major. He felt a lot better today. Not to the point. Obviously, we have to name our 27-man roster before the series, so we didn't have him on there. I don't think he could have pitched today, regardless. But he did make an improvement and feel better. So we'll evaluate it day to day. He may be available on Tuesday, but if not Tuesday, I certainly anticipate him being ready for next weekend.
What's an update on Jacob Tobias and his knee?
Oh, he's fine. I think he's, he had that happen, I think it was this fall or it might have been early this spring where kneecap just kind of gets out of place for a second when he stretches, and made the stretch there on that play from Champaign, and it kind of popped out a little bit and then it kind of goes back in, but it sore for a minute. That wasn't the reason I took him out of the game there. I just wanted to give Hossie an at bat, but I think he should be fine. Ultimately, I don't think there's anything that's too major.
I'm sorry. Do you want to go? There you go. Okay. On the topic of Tobias, I saw you talking to him on the side. What were you trying to instill in him? Because you can see the frustration on his face with these past 2 games. I mean, given how well he did in the previous ones.
Yeah, Toby's a great bat, and he swings it, and I can tell he's a little bit in his own head right now, as are a couple of the other freshmen. And I just said, hey, asked him what pitch he wants to hit, and said fastball, and I said, well then 2-0, what are you looking for? Fastball. I said, well, you got it right down the middle. Why are we waiting? Cut it loose. You don't have to wait. And then that guy's got a good changeup, and he gets back in the count, and then he can use his changeup. So it's like, don't forget to be aggressive to the fastball. That's the pitch you want to hit, and let's remember that. Let's not overthink things. 2-0, you should be sitting dead red and ready to get the head out on a fastball, and he's an aggressive hitter, so I can tell just by that take that he's thinking way too much. And I said, just get up there, see ball, hit ball, don't overthink it. So he understood, I think, what I was trying to talk about and get at, but he's a talented hitter, and he'll be just fine.
When you had the bullpen tomorrow, didn't use Webster or Vanderkoy tonight. Probably those 2 guys would be available, I would assume. Then some of the guys that used today, who would you say might be off limits, or are all of those guys that used tonight available for tomorrow as well?
I think Will's probably a stretch that he won't be available tomorrow after throwing 52 pitches and going 3 innings. I don't think he'll tell me I'm ready to go tomorrow, but I have a hard time thinking that he'd be as sharp tomorrow if we used him again. Glennie threw 44 pitches, Blake threw 50. Those guys probably would not be available tomorrow, my assumption. But we feel like we got enough tomorrow to, we're okay. We'll be in a good position with Tully going, and hopefully if he gives us the start that he's capable of, we'll be just fine. We got enough arms that we should be able to finish it out.
With that said, I was just going to ask where you guys were thinking about going there. Expected to be Adam Tulloch, but normally being a Friday guy, he's kind of struggled a little bit, but you still have a chance, like you said, to win the series, and of all guys to get the ball to the way it's kind of worked out. Do you think kind of a change in scenery a little bit for a Sunday afternoon versus a Friday night, all the weight of being a Friday night starter can kind of help you guys, I guess, get him back into his groove?
Well, I touched on that earlier a couple days ago. I think the whole Friday night thing, or Saturday, or whatever day of the weekend you are, is kind of an ego thing, and I'd like to think those guys don't have, hopefully aren't reading too much into that, because if you want to look at that on his Friday night starts, he's been pretty dang good up until he had a tough one at Oregon State, but he's been pretty good on Friday night. So what day of the weekend it is, to me, it doesn't really matter. You need everybody. Every game counts. So, his job is to go out tomorrow and compete and give us the best start he possibly can. Whether that's Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Tuesday, whatever it is. Those guys, that's their job. If they're starting pitcher and we're asking you to start a game, you go give it what you got and give us as much length as you can, and then we'll go from there. But I expect Tully to bounce back, and he's had a full week's rest this week. We're expecting him to do Adam Tulloch-like things and go out and give us a great start tomorrow. So hopefully he does that, and if he does, we'll be in good shape.
From your perspective, what was behind the 4 hitless innings, the 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th? And the fact that it coincided with a couple of scoreless frames that were put up by the 3 relievers you mentioned earlier. What was behind those struggles, and what changed as far as the 9th inning?
That kid, Joe King, he kept us off balance. He threw some pretty good change-ups in there and kept us chasing a little bit out of the zone. The Zoback kid came in. He was pumping 97, 90, 96, 97 miles an hour. It's a pretty good breaking ball too. So, that would account for the struggles. I think those guys are pretty good, but you don't like to give, as a hitter, you don't like to give pitching too much credit. But sometimes credit is due. Those guys threw the ball well. We just I felt like we chased out of the zone a little too much. But like I said, 11 strikeouts, and we've got to figure out ways to put the ball in play with 2 strikes and keep the pressure on the defense. But again, those guys threw the ball pretty well today.